Good morning. We're moving forward today in the story of Joseph, Jacob, Judah, and Jesus on into chapter 42. And in this chapter, we finally get some more information about Jacob and Judah in particular, as well as the rest of the other brothers. It has been about 20 years since they sold Joseph into slavery. And in those 20 plus years, God has reshaped and made Joseph into the right kind of man he needs to be to save civilization, the family of Jacob, and the line of Jesus himself. He went from being a very immature boy in chapter 37 to being a spiritually healthy man, as we saw yesterday. So, what about Jacob and Judah, and the rest of the brothers as well? A natural question to ask of this story is, have they changed in the past 20 years? Remember, in chapter 37, Jacob was idolizing Joseph and clearly favored him over the other sons, which caused a lot of problems in their family. It's a very dysfunctional family, if you hadn't noticed already. When he thinks Joseph is dead at the end of chapter 37, and his family tries to comfort him, he says, "No, I shall go down to Sheol," that is the grave, "to my son mourning." That is clear idolatry. I mean, do you guys know what an idol is? Let me give you a definition of an idol. In fact, let me give you two definitions, one shorter, one longer. The first one, an idol is anything more important than God. All right, so here's a short, clear, accurate definition. However, it doesn't give us a lot of solid, specific criteria to help us figure out if we're actually valuing something more than God. So let me give you a slightly longer definition. An idol is anything so essential to your life that life would hardly seem worth living if you lost it. Okay, so this one's a little bit more specific. This is what Joseph or Jacob was doing with Joseph. When Joseph was gone, basically Jacob told the rest of his kids that he'd rather be dead. So, has he changed in the past 20 plus years? Well, right at the beginning of chapter 42, we see not very good news. He tells his sons to go down to Egypt to buy grain. And then the text tells us this. So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. It does look like Jacob is idolizing Benjamin like he was Joseph. And that does get confirmed, as we'll see in a moment. You see, Joseph was the son of Rachel, the wife that Jacob wanted more than any other woman. And so was Benjamin. And they were also sons of his old age, as Genesis 37 says. So Jacob had made them into idols. Joseph first, then Benjamin. So, as the story goes on, and we're going to keep focusing on Jacob for today. We'll look at the brothers on Monday. As the story goes on, the brothers go down to Egypt, and Joseph is the one who happens to be selling them grain. And he recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. And long story short, Joseph realizes that he needs to test them. He's grown in the past 20 plus years. He knows that. But have they? They might have become mature men with whom he would rejoice to reunite, or they might be the same old scoundrels they were 20 years ago who sold him into slavery. So he and God using Joseph, test the brothers. We'll talk about that on Monday. But the result of that is Simeon has to stay in Egypt in the custody of Joseph and until Benjamin returns, and their money gets put back into their grain sacks, and they find that out when they're really close to home. And so they think that the Egyptian lord, Joseph, thinks that they have stolen the grain. When they get back, they tell all of this to Jacob, and that Benjamin has to go back with them to get Simeon so he can be released. Now, with Simeon's life on the line, you might think that Jacob would let go of his idol. But no, he says this, "You have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you would take Benjamin? All this has come against me." And then he goes on to say later, "My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is the only one left." He has 10 other ones, but he's the only one left. If harm should come to him on the journey that you are to make, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. Has Jacob changed? Not yet. He is willing to let Simeon die, or at least condemn him to a lifetime of slavery, just because of the chance of losing Benjamin. Just the chance. Remember this definition of an idol. Benjamin is an idol to Jacob. Kids, this part of the story challenges us to look at our idols in our lives. Idols can be good things. They often are good things that God has given us, his gifts. Like a child. A child is a good gift, like Benjamin was to Jacob. But they are good things that we end up making more important than God. Jacob feels he can't live without Benjamin. And another thing that this story shows us is that those good things, that we have made into idols, they are often exposed by trials and hard times or suffering. So what idols have been exposed in your life because of this COVID lockdown? They can be good things. Spending time with friends can be an idol. Getting good grades can be an idol. Doing really well can become the idol of perfectionism. Feeling in control of your life can be an idol. Popularity can be an idol. Your sports or your music that you can no longer do with other people. All of those are good things that we can start to make more important than God, and therefore life hardly feels worth living without them. So what is missing from your life that's getting you the most sad or the most down right now? That might be exposing an idol, like the famine exposed Jacob's idol. You guys think about that, and we'll talk some more again on Monday.